It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we continue the sporting conversation right now, kind of on and off the field, to tackle a vitally important story that broke last week. Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. has been the target of racist abuse several times this season, quite well publicized, in fact, in La Liga. And the latest incident against Valencia the previous weekend, Sunday, has seen him receive support from the footballing world, thankfully, with players and fans just putting their foot down, showing support for the Brazilian during the match between Real and Rayo Valenciano on Wednesday. Now, the league's president, Javier Tebas, said last week that the league could reduce the number of racist incidents in Spain's top flight in 6 or 7 months if they had the necessary powers, whatever that means. Now, here to discuss the topic more is sports writer Ayanda Phelim and David Kappel, the head of digital at Idiski Times. As much as we love to focus on field action, it's great to have these kind of opportunities to talk about this. Ayanda, I'm going to start with you. Is Spain behind the average in European football? And let's talk about European football specifically, supposedly the bastion of where global football is going. Is this a rarity, or is this just one that got onto the newspaper headlines, do you think, because of the clout and the season that Vinicius has had?
Look, it's not the first time for Vinicius to have that. I remember sometime in January, there were games before Osasuna, Mallorca and Atletico Madrid where this was happening. He's been a victim of hate crimes. It's not new, this thing happening.
His reaction speaks volumes.
In 2014, Dani Alves was subjected to the same thing where he was thrown in the banana and instead he made it fashionable. Spain is that country, and the Football Federation there, obviously the president said, we admit we have the problem, but what are you doing with the problem?
When he says we could do it in 6 or 7 months, that's quite a kind of a clear timeline to be able to do something. What, David, is missing then? If he is given the powers, what are those powers? Is that banning players? How do you control an element like this that speaks to an underlying culture within the game?
Yeah, it's very difficult to control. You know, he had to say something because obviously his first comments on social media were not great. You know,
Slammed.
He was criticized for that. He later had to apologize. I don't think you can, you know, erase a problem like that within 6 months. The first step would be, you know, to actually walk off the pitch, like was discussed in this game. Maybe points deduction, you know, things like that. But you know, it's a deep-rooted problem that he won't solve in 6 months. I'm not as confident as he is by far.
So I suppose we look at it like every big problem. South Africa's great at doing that. We see the end result. We see how we manage the transition. So when we look at the tools that are in play, how we can battle this in that league, or in fact in all the top-flight European leagues. Because imagine what this means to a young player who's thinking that Vinicius has reached the pinnacle and he's okay, and you are still receiving this kind of treatment. So what do we do then to start addressing this from the player's perspective? Because ultimately they're the ones that need to be protected first in that space. How do we start addressing this? What is that first step? Is it culture? Is it football? Is it rules? How have you been able to process this?
We need to follow what in UK doing. Obviously, in UK, they're not doing much, but obviously they do take steps.
They're still doing more.
Yeah, they still take steps. And then we need to, I mean, for them, they need to take those steps where, first things first, you need to have those sessions, those seminars where you talk about it to the public. You have to go to them. 2, the police, the investigations. You don't just investigate. There must be some sort of something happening. You must ban someone. You must ban players. You must. So in Spain, nothing of sort is happening, and you can't solve that. It needs to start by going to the people, talk about it, make people aware of it, because people don't know. They think it's right. They think it's normal. So a lot of things needs to be done in going and have those seminars and go to those coaching clinics where you address it from the early age, from school going up.
It feels like a broken system in the fact that you've got probably billions going into the well-being of these players in every other area. The commercial buy-in and lead out, that value exchange, great. Then it comes to racism. Nah, Vinicius Jr., you can sort this out on your own. You must stop a top-flight international football game, put your foot down, and then we'll address the problem. This feels like a massive, massive break in the system that should be protecting these players. What does it mean for young players that are subject to this in the league, do you think? What position has this left Vinicius in when you think of this media storm around him and how much has now been put on his shoulders?
I mean, you could see in the game how shocked he was. He was, you know, he was even in tears, you know, by the reaction that he received, because it's not just two people that chant or do monkey noises, you know. It's sometimes the whole stadium. And I think he stood up because it was the first time that you actually see a player to go to the fans and say, it was you.
Yeah.
You know,
what are you doing? Yeah.
you called me out. So I think his response has been great. He's taken it to social media, you know, to another level. I think he's just tired, you know, enough is enough.
Yeah.
He had to do something. And I think also the response from the coach, Carlo Ancelotti, was great, because he didn't want to talk about the game for the first time in over 1,200 games. You know, he wanted to speak about the incident, you know, raise awareness and say, this is not okay.
I think we often forget that these players, because they embody our hopes and our dreams, and for so many young kids there that step out of a racist system, that step out of a socio-economic system, we see that as being the bastion, the mountain to climb. How devastating for global football is this kind of political storm around a player? Ayanda, what does this do to our beautiful game when you see this kind of story surfacing and the players that are on that way up that ladder?
Dragging down to drain and making it seems like to a young person who, the rural people, who someone stays not close to where this is happening, they make it look like this is normal. That takes the beautiful game down to drain. Now it makes like the young kids don't want to go to that route anymore. Yeah. Obviously, kids love sport, but now when they see this all the time, someone from Brazil, where this...
The top, the pinnacle.
They're scared of going to that route now. They're scared of playing football. Someone says, no, I don't want to be a footballer anymore if this thing is kind of fashionable.
That's not my free pass. Then what is going to get me my free pass?
I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight for my survival. I don't want to fight because I'm black or something. I don't want to keep reminding people of that.
That's what my childhood was. Yeah, I want to move past that. Well, we're not quite ready to transcend just yet. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of the story as it evolves every day, because I think you guys have taken on board how much the press has to do online and elsewhere. How do you feel? Let us know what could be done in a cultural sense within sport to use this tool, football, that is the ultimate tool of empowerment, to make sure that it gets the job done. We'd love to hear from you.